Steve Stager is there as well. Steve's joining us now. Steve?
Yeah, Tom, I just bumped into Stephen McHugh here. Stephen told me that, so just tell me about your grandkids were inside?
My two granddaughters, 13 and 14, basically came in with their dad so he could get a COVID shot. They came in through the east door where the pharmacy is, and that's where it all started, and there was shooting, and he saw it and got the girls down. They ran and hid upstairs in a coat closet for an hour in the coats, and then they were communicating with my daughter through his phone, texting, and then the cops came in through the roof and were protecting them. They're out now, out the back. They got out, and this is going to be pretty hard for them to live with, I think.
Oh my God. When you hear from them, what's going through your mind as a grandparent when you hear something like that?
Well, there's what's more precious, And then I get really angry. And I feel like, every city is susceptible, but there's a way in which I would think that, well, this wasn't going to happen in Boulder. And now we know better.
Stephen, how are they? You mentioned they got out. How are they doing now? Where are they?
I talked to the youngest one, and she's, really acting tough and strong, and they're getting on a police bus, and they're going to all get, I guess, interviewed before they're allowed to come back to the car and go home.
You said a 12 and a 13-year-old.
Yeah. So this is heartbreaking.
How are you doing?
I'm shaking. I'm so glad they're safe, and it's not okay that we don't have better gun control laws. Let me just say that. It's not, when it's your family, suddenly I want better people to have guns if they're going to have them, and that this has got to stop. Every week in the United States there's a shooting. Now it's our turn, and that should never be repeated anywhere.
Stephen, we're hoping for the best for everybody inside. I know there's a long road ahead because it's not just the situation
too for them. I'm really concerned for their mental and emotional health, but they're great kids, and they're super solid, and they got great parents. But this is going to be a hurdle to get over.
We are all thinking of your family tonight.
I appreciate it.
Stephen McHugh, we appreciate it. So that's a view from the inside, a secondhand account through Stephen, but it's just incredible when you start to hear some of these stories of what happened inside, the bravery of law enforcement who got those kids out safely. It's incredible, guys.
Coming through the roof, as he said, Steve, and everything he said about that, it's heartbreaking what a grandfather says, and thinking about 12 and 13-year-olds in a closet, trapped in a closet at this point to get there for their own safety.
And you think about it, it's something that has become almost a regular part of our life. They came here to get a COVID shot, and this is the situation that unfolded right before their eyes.
Wow.
Steve, that story, I think, resonates with many people. Of family, and as you mentioned, COVID and the normalcy of going to the store. We keep talking about it, and we still are trying to sort out what is happening there. From what you're sensing around there, what is the sense at the scene as far as the level of tension since you've been on the scene?
Well, I'll tell you, I was listening to what Matt was saying just a few minutes ago, and I would agree with it. I mean, the posture of law enforcement now is certainly not as intense as you would expect if there was an active situation inside. Now, we have no confirmation of what's going on inside, and as you guys were mentioning earlier, in this age of social media, it's horrible to speculate about anything until we get actual confirmation about what's going on inside. But I will say law enforcement kind of positioned outside. I did see some movement away from the store maybe about 10 minutes ago. And as I said, maybe within 5 minutes of getting here, we saw police kind of sweep the parking lot and go through all the vehicles that they could find in this King Soopers parking lot to see if they were connected at all to the incident that happened on the inside. So the posture seems to be calm. I know when you hear Stephen's story, you think that they may have gotten some folks outside, which is a good thing, that police came through the roof and got his grandkids outside with his son-in-law. So it seems that things are at least calm from our vantage point right now.
And what he touched on, Stephen said, Steve, was the same thing, that they're getting them outside. They're the ones they were able to get out on a bus and then taking them to the police department, presumably, to talk to them about what they saw and what they heard. Now, did Stephen just show up trying to get information, or do you know anything about how he got there?
You know, we haven't talked about, I know he said that he heard through his daughter and got down here as quickly as he possibly could just to try to, I'm assuming, to be close to them if they were released from the scene. But that's a very typical thing in situations like this. Police want to talk about talk to anyone who may have been inside to garner any information they might be able to get about what just happened, because all of those people who were inside this King Soopers at the time are now witnesses to what happened here today.
Steve, that's a large crime scene, just the building itself. The parking lot is part of the crime scene as well now, as they continue to try to piece together whatever led up to this. If they, in fact, are taking some of the pressure out of that building and not officially saying something, is there a concern that then there is an active shooter who was there who is now possibly somewhere else?
You know, and that's a standard kind of thing that police are looking for in situations like this. They have to make sure that a giant crime scene is clear before they can declare that the threat in this situation is over. So he had mentioned, you know, there are rumors going around, which we don't want to share any of those rumors just because none of them are really confirmed. So I think they're just trying to be extra cautious and make sure that there is not a threat inside the King Soopers.
Okay, Steve, we appreciate the update, and we thank Stephen for his story, and we're glad his granddaughters are okay.